My name's Elizabeth Britt, and I am a member of Friends of Lone Fir Cemetery. I took the tour over a year ago and was so in love with the history that I said this is what I want to do. So I've been studying the stories, and this cemetery, I come for a walk here and I stay an hour and a half almost every time. But it's the cemetery that started off with not even actually being a cemetery. The first person buried here was Emmer Stevens, father to J.P. Stevens, who died 3 years after coming here off the Oregon Trail. It wasn't a cemetery then. He was just buried in the back of the property. Shortly after that, the property was sold to Coburn Barrel, and he's the one that started it as a cemetery. There was an explosion for a steamship in which many people were killed. His best friend Crawford Dobbins was killed, and out of grief he designated the first block up here to be, it was called Mount Crawford Cemetery, and Crawford Dobbins was the first person buried here as a cemetery. We have a lot of the early pioneers, the early people who formed Portland's history here. We have, there are rich people, there are poor people, we have murderers, we have Shanghai captains, we have pirates, prostitutes, and poets, and everyone's buried without regard to their past. They're buried with dignity, and we give them all equal time in the tour. Friends of Lone Fir was started in the year 2000 after some pretty violent vandalism occurred here at the cemetery, and so they got together, and now they work with Metro, and the Friends of Lone Fir are dedicated to preserving the cemetery, educating people, and restoration. So we are trying to restore some of the grounds. We do have head cleaning one Saturday a month, headstone cleaning, and so there are many ways that people can volunteer for Lone Fir if they feel that this is a good niche for them. Harvey. She was John McLaughlin's youngest daughter, Eloisa. And McLaughlin, as we said, was responsible for starting Fort Vancouver, and he was a very wealthy man, I believe came over from England, and realized the importance of keeping this a territory, and he was really, sometimes people call him the father of Oregon. But his youngest daughter was born back east and came out here to live with her dad at a young age, and then was sent back to Quebec for her education in a convent, and at the completion of her education came back out here and traveled around Oregon with her father. John McLaughlin has the McLaughlin House in Oregon City, which is also an incredible place to see, and he purchased his property and furnished it with all the beautiful things that he had from Fort Vancouver. And I don't know if anyone's been to Fort Vancouver. That's another really incredible place to go. The life at Fort Vancouver prior to Portland being settled was that it was very busy. It was trading ships came in every day. It was common to have ships from China or Hawaii, yeah. And so Eloisa was brought up in this atmosphere, and it was very cosmopolitan and Victorian at the same time. So she married, boy, I don't know the name of her first husband. Anyway, she married someone who was an employee of her dad, and had 3 children, and his job wasn't working out. I'm not sure what happened, but he committed suicide, leaving her a single mother of 3. So that's when her dad built the house that's still in Oregon City, and she lived there about 5 years. And after that, she married Daniel Harvey, and then proceeded to have 3 more children. And he was also an employee of her dad. He ran a sawmill, which was quite successful, and they had a long and happy life.